Additionally, this week that we also wrote several stories actually about the pistol brace ban being implemented by President Biden. The deadline to register your braced guns has come and gone. And now if you have a braced firearm, then the ATF considers you to be in possession of a unregistered NFA item, which carries the potential penalty of up to 10 years in federal prison. So pretty significant penalty. And right before that deadline hit, we got 4 injunctions issued against it. However, they were limited in nature. They are not nationwide injunctions. In fact, the requests for nationwide injunctions were rejected by all 4 courts. And instead, they're limited to the named plaintiffs. But one caveat there is that the named plaintiffs include groups like the Firearms Policy Coalition, the Second Amendment Foundation, and Gun Owners of America, as well as Maxim Defense, a company, and Rainier Arms, companies that make these guns. And what we've got clarity on right before the rule went into effect is that members of all of these gun rights groups are included in that named plaintiff category. So that's millions of people. Additionally, Maxim Defense's customers are included as well. So anyone who buys a gun, either bought one or I guess buys one from here on out from them, is also included in this injunction. So it's quite a lot of people that the ATF will not be able to enforce this rule against. But at the same time, it leaves millions more gun owners without those sorts of protections as these cases move forward, because in large part, the Supreme Court has seemed to sour on these nationwide injunctions that have become more popular in the last 5-6 years. And so it seemed that the Fifth Circuit, especially the 3-judge panel on the appeals court that really is the one leading all these injunctions, the other 3 injunctions from district court judges kind of came at the behest of or not at the behest, but at the direction of the higher court. They're just sort of following exactly what the higher court was doing to the T, because that's how they're supposed to operate, right? And it's a pretty big blow for President Biden, I think, and one that is really reaches beyond just this rule, because now he's had all of his executive orders held up by the courts in one way or another because they're unconstitutional according to these judges, and I think that's a pretty big loss for him and a fairly significant win for the gun rights groups in this situation. What do you think, Jake?
No, I think that's right. And it's funny, it kind of reminds me of, speaking of other executive orders, the course that this has taken sort of reminds me of the so-called ghost gun ban, where you've had multiple judges in multiple cases issue injunctions, but it's sort of been this piecemeal method. In that case, it was the major kit manufacturers that were getting their own individual injunctions. In this case, it's individual gun rights groups. So it's not a nationwide injunction, but when you're taking the lion's share, perhaps, of folks that actually own these products, it does become a major impediment to, seeing his agenda be carried out when, the vast majority of folks that would theoretically, ostensibly be affected by this rule are no longer affected by it, at least until litigation plays out. It's definitely a big blow to what he tried to do right when he got into office. So. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think it's going to be significant moving forward here as well. It is interesting to see that we haven't had any rulings from other circuits. All these rulings are in the Fifth Circuit, and they're all following what the Fifth Circuit panel did. So, for instance, one notable name not on the list of gun rights groups whose members are protected by these rulings is the National Rifle Association, right? The largest gun rights group in the country, 4.5 million plus members at this point. That's because they've been involved in a different case in the Eighth Circuit, one that's also seen 25 Republican attorney generals join, as well as the the industry group for brace manufacturers. FRAC is the name of it. And that case is fully briefed. There's been no movement, though. And the deadline obviously was sort of the key date to do something about it, and they just didn't. There's several other cases in other circuits as well, and they may become important down the line here because it's very likely the Fifth Circuit panel is going to find this rule unconstitutional on the merits, because to issue these injunctions in the first place, you have to get to the point where you think it's likely that the law or the ban or the rule is unconstitutional. So it's extremely likely that that's what they're going to find when they get to the ruling on the merits. But that will potentially just apply in the Fifth Circuit, which is Texas, Mississippi, and Louisiana. So in theory, the ATF could continue to enforce this rule everywhere else in the country, except maybe against these gun rights groups members. That seems to apply to all members throughout the country, although there's some question. One of the panelists in that 3-judge panel raised questions about maximum defense customers being protected, because he felt that was sort of an unlimited potential group, because it could be anyone who buys from them in the future. And so there may be some questions down the line, especially when this gets appealed past this first panel, as to how far you can really push an injunction like this. So that's where other circuit cases become more important, and we'll have to watch and see exactly what happens with them. I have a bit more on this over at the Reload in a members piece for anybody who wants to read more about it.